It was 2 a.m. when I woke up to my dog's soft whimpering by my bedside. Groggy and half-dazed, I reached down to pet him, thinking he was just looking for attention. But there was something different in his eyes, something urgent, almost as if he was trying to communicate something that I couldn't quite grasp. I dismissed it at first, but my dog Max had never behaved like this before. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up as he gently nudged my hand toward the bedroom door. I followed his lead, feeling a strange mix of curiosity and apprehension. Max, usually calm and content, was now dragging me toward the hallway, stopping occasionally to glance back as if ensuring I was still following. By the time we reached the living room, I saw the faint glow of light under the door to the study. My heart raced. My husband, Jake, had been staying up late, working on some project. But something felt wrong. My instincts were on edge. Max barked softly at the door, and I hesitated before turning the knob. What I saw inside shattered the stillness of the night, and everything I thought I knew about my marriage. Jake was sitting on the couch, but he wasn't alone. My best friend Lucy was there too. They were both half-dressed, locked in an embrace. It was a moment that seemed to stretch in time, as if the universe itself held its breath. The betrayal was right there, exposed in front of me, in the silence of the night. I stood frozen for a moment, unable to process what was happening. Max, sensing my shock, moved closer to me, nudging my hand as if to comfort me. The overwhelming rush of emotions hit me all at once: anger, confusion, heartbreak, and an aching sense of loss. How long had this been going on? How many times had they shared moments like this when I wasn't around? Lucy, seeing me standing there, quickly pulled away from Jake, her face pale with guilt. But Jake, he didn't immediately say anything. Instead, he looked at me with a mix of shame and regret, as though he knew everything between us had just been irreparably damaged. In the hours that followed, the conversation that unfolded was a blur of accusations, apologies, and explanations. Jake admitted that his affair with Lucy had been going on for months, a fact I was too blind to see, consumed by the comfort of my own life. He talked about how he had felt neglected, how his emotional needs weren't being met, something he had tried to communicate, but I had dismissed as trivial. But the more he spoke, the more I realized it wasn't just about the affair. It was about the silent distance that had grown between us over time. The emotional disconnect I had refused to acknowledge had made way for his infidelity. There were things about him, about us, that I had never fully understood. In the days that followed, the weight of what had happened consumed me. How could I still love someone who had done this to me? And how could I ever look at Lucy the same way again? She was someone I had trusted, someone who knew the ins and outs of my life. The betrayal cut deep, not just because of the affair, but because of the emotional intimacy they had shared. It felt like everything I had built, every moment of trust, had been a lie. Max, my ever-loyal dog, became my only source of solace during this tumultuous time. He would sit with me through the long nights, offering a silent comfort that spoke louder than words ever could. I realized that my bond with him was the one thing in my life that had never wavered. His unconditional affection reminded me that despite the hurt I was experiencing, love could still be pure and uncomplicated. The emotional complexity of the situation weighed heavily on me. There were moments when I felt like I should leave Jake, cut ties with him completely, but I knew it wasn't that simple. The feelings I had for him, the history we shared, made the decision far more complicated than I ever imagined. I needed time to process everything, to figure out if our relationship could ever be rebuilt, or if we were simply too broken to fix. As for Jake and Lucy, the fallout from that night was inevitable. Lucy distanced herself from both of us, unable to face me, and Jake was left to grapple with the consequences of his actions. But in the end, it was the emotional aftermath, the loneliness, the self-doubt, and the unraveling of trust that took its toll. No amount of apologies or explanations could undo what had been done. And Max? He remained by my side, silently reminding me that despite the emotional chaos around me, I wasn't alone. In the darkest of times, when everything seemed to fall apart, his loyalty was a constant, a beacon of light in the overwhelming darkness of betrayal. Infidelity in relationships is one of the most emotionally turbulent experiences one can face. When a person discovers that their partner has been unfaithful, it often leads to a whirlwind of conflicting emotions that are difficult to process. The emotional impact of such a discovery is not limited to feelings of betrayal. It also includes a profound sense of confusion, anger, shame, and heartbreak. For many, the trust that was once the foundation of the relationship is shattered, and with it comes the realization that the emotional bond that they thought was unbreakable has been tested in the most painful of ways. The emotional turmoil triggered by the discovery of infidelity is unique for each individual, but the common thread is the seismic shift it causes in one's emotional state. At the heart of this turmoil is the sudden revelation that someone they loved and trusted has been hiding a secret, a betrayal of the deepest kind. Trust, once broken, is incredibly difficult to rebuild, and the emotional consequences are often far-reaching. It's not just the act of infidelity itself that hurts, but also the hidden layers of deception that accompanied it. The lies, the emotional manipulation, the secret meetings. Each piece of the puzzle adds weight to the emotional burden that the betrayed person has to carry. The feeling of being lied to, of being kept in the dark, creates a deep sense of emotional injury that doesn't easily heal. The confusion that accompanies the discovery of infidelity is another key element of the emotional turmoil. For many, there is an initial period of disbelief. It's hard to reconcile the image of the person they once loved with the reality of betrayal. Their minds often race through questions. Was it something I did wrong? Why did they do this to me? Did I not provide what they needed emotionally? These questions create an internal struggle that can be both overwhelming and paralyzing. It's a struggle between understanding the betrayal logically and feeling the hurt and rejection on an emotional level. Sometimes, this confusion leads to self-doubt, as the person wonders whether they were somehow responsible for the affair, whether they missed signs of unhappiness or neglect. One of the most challenging emotions to navigate is anger. The betrayal can stir up intense feelings of rage, not only toward the person who committed the infidelity, but also toward the third party involved. It's difficult for many to understand how their partner could betray them with someone else, especially if the person they trusted was someone they knew or even considered a friend. The anger doesn't just stem from the act of cheating, it's also directed toward the deceit that allowed the affair to continue in secret. It's anger at the lies, the broken promises, and the emotional disregard. Often, this anger is complicated by feelings of guilt, as the betrayed person might feel ashamed for even being angry in the first place. They may question whether they have the right to be upset when their partner's needs were clearly unmet. This internal conflict adds layers to the emotional turmoil. Shame is another powerful emotion that emerges in the aftermath of discovering infidelity. The betrayed individual might feel humiliated by the fact that their partner sought emotional or physical intimacy elsewhere. Shame can manifest in many ways. It might appear as feelings of inadequacy, or thoughts like I wasn't good enough, or what did I do to deserve this? These emotions are exacerbated by societal expectations of loyalty and commitment in relationships. Infidelity challenges these norms, leading the betrayed person to question their own worth, their attractiveness, or their value in the relationship. The shame isn't just about the affair itself, but also about the loss of control over the relationship and the personal boundaries that were once in place. Heartbreak is perhaps the most profound emotion that arises in the wake of discovering infidelity. It's the feeling of the emotional connection between two people being severed, leaving one person feeling as if their heart is literally broken. The loss of a shared future, the unraveling of plans and dreams built together, and the grief of losing a relationship that once felt secure and enduring contribute to this sense of heartbreak. The sadness isn't just about the end of a relationship, but about the loss of trust, the loss of love, and the dissolution of an emotional connection that may have seemed unshakable before. Heartbreak can make individuals feel as if they are grieving the death of the person they once knew, the person they thought they would grow old with. Ultimately, the emotional turmoil that comes with the discovery of infidelity is a mix of conflicting feelings: betrayal, confusion, anger, shame, and heartbreak. These emotions can overwhelm a person and leave them feeling lost, isolated, and unsure of how to move forward. The person who has been betrayed might find themselves questioning their self-worth, their future, and their ability to trust again. It's a time of immense vulnerability where every emotional response feels like an avalanche of rawness that can be difficult to control or understand. Each emotion contributes to the complex landscape of pain that comes with the discovery of infidelity, and for many, this emotional journey is one of the hardest battles they will ever face.